We have a well-known personality, a professional in this technological industry in Sri Lanka, ready to talk to you on a very special, interesting subject. You don't have to work for Google. He is the Managing Director and the Chief Executive Officer of Enable, a company he founded in the year 2008 with just 12, which today employs more than 200 to provide technology-enabled business solutions, connecting people and things with insight for an efficient and intelligent world. Ladies and gentlemen, today he has gained traction as a public speaker for a variety of forums across the education, business and technological sectors. He's an alumni of INSEAD School of Business. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Managing Director and the Chief Executive of Enable to talk to you. You don't have to work for Google.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Managing Director and Chief Executive of Enable, Peter D Almeida.
Good evening, everybody. Looks like I have picked the right spot just when it's dinner break. So that's okay. We can talk to the few people who are here, still following what's going on. When I was asked to speak at this forum, I was asking, I looked at the profiles of the people, and somebody told me there are about 3,500 people here, largely between the ages of 19, 26, 30, and also mostly male, predominantly male, but I can see a bunch of young people as well. But before I get to that, I must say I can see Stephanie seated there, and this is the second time, Stephanie, that in a dialogue event I am following you. So it's a pleasure to be, it's almost like a fine act to follow. So thank you for that wonderful performance. Thank you. So I was asking myself, why do you come here? Obviously some for the food, but mostly for the hype, I suppose. That's what I heard people say. Then some obviously come to be, they are programmers, there's a developer community, you want to be a part of that. And obviously some of you are here to find out if there's something new that you can learn by listening to Google and the other speakers who come here, and also the other speakers who will speak after Sundar Pichai. So, meanwhile, in your website, I also found that you are expecting to have people here who are interested in technology and innovation and digital entrepreneurs. So I thought, digital entrepreneurs. And also industry professionals. So that's the kind of mixed bag of people we have here. So I thought maybe I'll say something about innovation, because that's a lot, we hear a lot about this innovation, don't we? But what I find is that innovation, people largely connect innovation with technology and business. And if that's the case, I think we might have to rethink what innovation means. And not only do they say they connect with technology and business, largely they'll think, if you are fortunate, we will make a quick bit of money, a fortune out of this. But largely, it will leave the world unchanged. I'm thinking that means we might have to rethink what innovation is all about. Because some of the greatest innovators have not done it for profit or for personal gain. They've been in innovation for something else. Because what is innovation after all? Innovation is nothing but making changes in something that is established. It's as simple as that. Making changes in something that is established, or to completely alter the way we think of something. Now, in less than, I think, 2 hours, Sundar Pichai will come and speak to you from Google. Now, Sundar, as you know, comes from a South Indian state of Tamil Nadu. He was born in Madurai. He studied in Chennai. He was a son of a middle-class family, son of a stenographer. Father was an electrical engineer, I think. And he went to IIT Madras first, then went to IIT Kharagpur, studied metallurgy, went to Stanford, studied material sciences, then went to Wharton Business School and ended up at Google, where he headed products, including Chrome. Much to everybody's surprise, when Larry Page stepped down, he became the CEO. It's unthinkable some years ago to have an Indian Tamil born in Chennai to be heading a massive company, American company like Google. Now we have Satya Nadella, who's heading Microsoft as well. So it's great for someone like Sundar to have come up the hard way and found himself managing and running a big American company. But let me talk to you about someone else. While Sundar Pichai was doing all that, there was another man, a school dropout from a poor family, also from the state of Tamil Nadu, in Coimbatore, about 200 kilometers from where Sundar Pichai was born. And he was born 10 years before. Sundar Pichai was born in 72, he was born in 62. His name is Arunachalam Muruganandam. I am sure most of you, or almost none of you, may have heard of him. I can't ask you to show of hands because I can't see the audience here, because with the light on my face, I can't see most of the people here. Now, Arunachalam Muruganandan is a very interesting man because he revolutionized menstrual health for millions of people in India. Menstrual health. Because you see, he developed a very cheap machine to turn out sanitary pads at 1/3 the cost of what it was commercially. And with that invention, he has supplied these machines to 23 of the 29 states in India. And now he's in expanding production to sell these machines to 106 developing countries in Africa, Asia, and other places. Now, what was so wonderful about this man? The statistics are staggering. Now, Sundar Pichai will also talk about billions, and we'll come to that later. 355 million women, menstruating women in India. Only 12% wear pads. Can you imagine that? Only 12%. His wife herself was, he found her hiding some dirty cloth in the cupboard, and he said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "These are the cloth that I use to when I'm having my period." And he said, "My God, it's so filthy, I won't even use it to wash my clean my scooter." And so he went out to buy a pad for her. It cost him 4 rupees. And he thought it weighs 10 grams. 10 grams of cotton. Cotton costs 25 cents. So he thought, why is this costing so much? And then he started to look for a better way, a cheaper way to produce sanitary pads. And 80% of the problems, reproductive tract infection is caused because of this problem. So what did he do? He completely changed the lives of millions of people. And interestingly, he took his machine to IIT Madras, where Sundar Pichai was also studied. And they, without his knowing, submitted it to the Innovation Award in India. 943 people submitted their nominations. And in India, you get lots of people who are innovating. 943. He won the President's Award for Innovation. And he became one of Time's 100 most influential men in the world, along with Jeff Bezos and people like that. So, what did he actually do? He changed hygiene for women. He gave education, because when these girls were having their periods, they don't go to school for 5 days a month. That's 50 days they didn't go to school. Some dropped out of school when they started menstruating. So, hygiene, education, a better way of life, and now he's having women use those simple machines to turn out sanitary pads. Employment. But more than anything, self-respect. And you must read about this man. He has given a TED talk as well. Now, what was it that is common about him and Sundar Pichai or anyone who innovates? A few things. Firstly, a deep engagement of fascination with the problem. He was engaged. He's a school dropout. He was engaged. How do you do this? And he found out it is cotton. But he used cotton and the cotton was not absorbing. He used to wear a pad himself. I mean, the lengths he would go to. And he got 20 schoolgirls to use his pad, and then he had it at his house. His mother-in-law, his mother, saw him do this. She put her clothes in a sari, packed it and left. He was getting his wife to also try it out. She also thought he's mad. She also left him. And he's a funny fellow. He says, look at this, I was solving her problem and she has left me now. And the villagers nearly killed him, thinking that this man is a bit possessed. And they tied him upside to a tree and they were going to assault him. Luckily, he said, I leave the village. So, two things. A deep commitment and engagement with the problem, and a commitment at a very personal level. Wife left him, mother left him, he had to leave the village, he was completely ostracized. Now he just persevered. And third, hard work. But more than anything, he had an inquiring mind. Because you see, you don't have to have a scientific mind, all of you here, to start innovating. You only have to have an inquiring mind. හොයන්න ඕනේ. මොකද්ද මෙතන තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ? ඒකත් එක්ක අපිට ගැටෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? ඒක මගේ ඇඟට එනවාද මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ? මොකද්ද මෙතන කරන්න හදන්නේ? මොකද්ද කරන්න තියෙන්නේ කියන එක? That's what we need, an inquiring mind. And to look at new possibilities. Now, I was quite surprised. Recently, at our own company, Enable, we are looking at our business plan. And now, mind you, we started with 13 people. We have now built the company to 200 people. And we have come a long way. We have been profitable over the last 7 years. This is our 10th year. So we are looking at our business plan. And I was surprised. When I was asking my team, what is the market opportunity? They were constrained by things like numbers, the budget, last year's budget, this year's budget, incentive. Now they were not able to free themselves and just look at the market opportunity. And there is huge market opportunity. Dialog itself, there's opportunity for us. I just spoke to Supun. In the finance world, banking, digital, so on and so forth. But what is it that people are not able to break through and think like this? And that will apply to thousands of you here as well, if you're going to do anything with innovation. I think it just takes two things. One, I think you must have a free mind. And I found right throughout my career, whether I was in banking or trade union work, or whether I was involved in acting or in technology, all I had was what I had acquired when I was young. Because I never went to a technology school, I didn't go to a business school, I didn't learn acting in a school. But what was it? Right throughout all of this, I find two things. One, my mind was free. Because like I've said in my TED talk and in other talks, my father, now Kumar Sangakkara was saying he was influenced by his parents. But for me, my father was a very conservative Catholic. He had a very rigid way of looking at life. He died when I was 4. I was in a family of 11. So I was completely left, unhindered, to explore and let go of my mind. And most children are creative. And I think I used to sing and act and things like that. But nobody to stop me. Nobody say, පාඩම් කරන්න, ශිෂ්‍යත්වය කරන්න, ටියුෂන් කරන්න, අරක කරන්න, ගම් පාසලට යන්න, ඒවා මුකුත් නැහැ. So with these two elements that I had when I was young, it is that I think that has got me to where I was and helped me to do the types of things that I've been trying to do. So I think that's what you have to ask yourself. Is it too late? I wonder. Because sometimes your personality is formed, they say, by the time you're 7 or 10 or 12. Is it too late for you to have that kind of inquiring mind? I don't know. But at least you must try. Wherever you are, and that's why I say you don't have to work for Google. In whatever you do, if you have that inquisitiveness, curiosity, that is the starting point, I think, for any kind of breakthrough, innovation, change the established way of doing things. And that's what you need to focus on and see whether you have that quality in you. Otherwise, I must tell you, right now, you ain't going to be an entrepreneur. That's a fact. You will be a programmer, you'll do fairly well, but you won't do that breakthrough stuff that we expect and that you expect to do in your own lives. So, that's the first point I want to make. And now we have 11 minutes, so I'll quickly run through the next few points. Now, the point about Google, now it's interesting that Sundar Pichai will now talk about two things. Last year he spoke. Mobile first, artificial intelligence. The entire future of Google is betting on artificial intelligence. And you know what's happening? Tim Berners-Lee, the founder of the World Wide Web, is saying companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook are killing innovation. You'll be surprised to hear that. Because what has happened is, they now are the large platforms that control the internet. I'm not saying this. The founder of World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee, is making this point. Why? Because when he started the internet, it was a common platform for people to share ideas freely. There was a lot of innovation. But now, they control the platform and they pretty much, with artificial intelligence, manipulate how you are guided through and keep you engaged in those things that will give them AdSense and ad money. This is Tim Berners-Lee talking about. And George Soros, a billionaire, he says something very interesting. He says something potentially irreversible is happening to human attention in the digital age. Not mere distraction or addiction, but asking people to surrender their autonomy. Because once you're in that, they manipulate the way you stay in their platform. And he's saying, George Soros is saying, this is the greatest obstacle to innovation. It's a menace to society. And Tim Berners-Lee is saying, this is going to slow down innovation. A few people will control what needs to be done with their own platforms and their own AI and all of that. And he's saying they are going to weaponize the web. We need to rein them in. So, very important thing for you to think about. Because a lot of you, even now I saw, it's also killing your attention span and innovation. Even now I found people are completely hooked on and addicted to their phones. They can't focus and concentrate for a length of time. That kills innovation. Because you're going from one to another, to another, to another, to another. So that's the second point about Google. The third point about them is the slogan of Google is don't do evil. Don't be evil. But these companies are the ones who are not paying their fair share of taxes. Can you imagine if Dialog didn't pay their tax? What will happen to our society? How did Sundar Pichai even go to IIT Kharagpur? Because it was free education in India. Now, it is only by responsible corporates paying their fair share of taxes that you can provide education, health, transport, logistics, bridges, all this stuff. Now, Google uses every trick in the book, including companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Microsoft, not to pay their fair share of taxes. And in Europe, they were just fined $13 billion in back taxes. They pay 3% tax, whereas in the United States, corporates are expected to pay 35%. Now, how can you sustain society if you don't do the right thing for the larger good of the people? Which brings me to my final point. What is all this innovation for if it doesn't address the larger issues facing the people of our country? Kumar Sangakkara spoke about a few things. But let me talk again about some really pressing problems that we face in this country. I spoke about this in my TED talk. Two things. I spoke about health and education. Diabetes is going to be a huge problem. Even recently, we did a test in our office. We pay for our staff to get their test done. Even people as low as 26 years have sugar. And diabetes, the chronic kidney disease, is killing thousands of people, particularly the farmers in Anuradhapura and so on. This country needed 1,000 dialysis machines. We have only 180. Now I found some statistics. My friend Niruban, who is there, told me that a dialysis machine cost about $10,000. Maybe let's double it, 2 million. 2 million, let's say. 1,000 will cost us about 2 billion rupees. You know how much we spent to build the stadium at Surya Weber, where no match is paid. 5.8 billion rupees we spent on a pitaniya where nothing happens. I don't know how many times Kumar Sangakkara has batted in that ground. If he was here, we could have asked him. He scored 12,000 runs and became the 5th highest scorer. But I don't know how many matches even he got a chance to play. Now, can you be indifferent to these kinds of issues that face the people of our country? You all are the youth. Can you say, me desapalne aksho munge kisi vadak na arungu tekai mungu tekai, and just completely stay away from these issues that plague the people of this country? Or are you going to use the enormous talent that you have? I never had a chance to come and participate in a session like this. No chance. Unheard of. I only learned what I learned at my school, St. Benedict's College, and whatever it is, that's all I heard. And you have the exposure, you have the talent, you have the potential. Can you use it to at least address one of the many iniquities that we face in this country? Take water. Only 50% of this country, people in this country have pipe-borne water. And you know what happened in Cape Town? They nearly ran out of water, the first major city in the world to completely run out of water almost. They salvaged it, I don't know for how long. And we have a huge problem about water. And what do? Just a few kilometers away, maybe half a kilometer, you see they're building a port city. How is that going to help us? So, my final point is, innovation for what? Like Arunachala Muruganandan, you ask yourself, who has made the greater contribution? Sundar Pichai or Arunachala? To the vast majority of the rural poor in India and in other countries. That is what I want to finally leave you with. When you finally sit down, like Kumar said, meaning of life, when you sit back, you have a few seconds to reflect on your life, what will you think of? That you were a programmer, that you worked with some algorithms, very good. But if you have contributed to eliminate or address or give your mind to at least to be conscious, even if you don't do anything, be conscious of the larger issues that face the people of this country and think that you can contribute in some small way to make a change. Only then, as Kumar said, I echo that sentiment, can you say that your life was worth it and your life was well lived. And with that, I wish all of you a very bright future, because you have the exposure, the technology, the means, and even events like this to open your mind a little bit. Use it to ask questions. The first thing is not to run and find solutions. The most you can do is to constantly ask yourself questions. And you can innovate here. You can innovate with Dialog. They're waiting for people to come and create better user experience for their customers, including myself. So, I urge you to use what you have, the capacity, the potential, the creative power that you have to address of issues of business and technology, but also the issues facing the larger population and the people of this country. Thank you very much.
Once again, we're going to have an interactive session, ladies and gentlemen. You can post, you can send in your questions with regards to the topic what Mr. D Almeida just mentioned about. It's about whether you will go for a season 2 of Cumbio. You want to answer that?
Well, Cumbio, yes, that's another story. Well, actually, the play ended exactly the way the script was written. So, and in the original script also, that's exactly what happens. There's a call, and he says, take the call. So I think the directors have kept the options open. Maybe there could be a season 2, but I only know what you know.
Right, okay. So we'll keep those subjects a bit aside. So we'll try and entertain questions as much as possible because we have only like 15 minutes for this interactive session. So let me start. I'm still getting some questions not related to the area what we just want to talk. In fact, innovation. How important is it to have this innovative mindset, especially in this new world order, Peter? Now, you talked about so many characters. You talked about Sundar Pichai. You talked about the other person who invented these cheap pads for women. So we as Sri Lankans in this educational system, how important is it to have this mindset, the correct mindset to cater?
Well, sadly, I'm glad you said education because I think innovation is killed in our schools. I think it's tragic what we put our children through. From the time they walk in to school, innovation is killed. They don't expect you to be creative. They kill your creativity. They only get you to do maths, English, Sinhala, all of that. They don't encourage the arts. They don't get you to go and play. So if children are going to do Shishatva from grade 5 and they are sending them for tuition from the time they are 6 or 7, how are you going to innovate? කටපාඩම් කරලා උත්තර ලියන්න ඕනේ පටපට ගාලා ශිෂ්‍යත්වය ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒකෙන් කොහොමද innovation හදන්නේ?
Right.
So schools are the problem. And parents also are just not letting their children grow the way we grew. With freedom, exploring. Most people don't have gardens, so they can't explore in the garden. How are they to grow their minds? It's a hopeless situation.
Right. Lola Pereira has said this. What is your idea about the capital for that innovative idea to generate?
Well, capital, that's another problem. You see now, if you take the banks in Sri Lanka, I mean, they are not ready to broadly to fund innovation. Now, even a company like us, with 13 people, we created a company that's 200 people. And we provide a fairly valuable service, including to Dialog. But even a company like us, when we want to grow and expand, the banks are a big stumbling block. They want collateral. If I had collateral to raise a 2 billion or 2 million even, or 20 million fund to grow, for example, now we are doing some interesting work around analytics. We are able to predict who are the most likely people to do something. So, if I need to hire 10 people and I go to the bank and say, fund me, they are not going to so readily fund you. So, because I'm part of HEMAS now, I am able to raise some money. But otherwise, it's an interesting question.
Obina Piris has asked, what was the key for you when building Enable and making it as large as today?
Well, just one thing, actually two things. One is when I came to Enable, I just left Millennium IT, where we had grown the systems integration business. People don't know this. It's we who sustained the software business. 1 year we did, the last 3 years that I was there, we did $1 million in profit, $2 million and $1 million, $4 million. That sustained the company. But I walked out of Millennium to start Enable because I knew that Millennium was going to be acquired by a software company and they won't be interested in the systems integration business. So we walked out. The first lesson is, your past is your past. So we came here and hard work, firstly. At Millennium, we used to applaud when we used to get, no, we wouldn't touch a project unless we had $50,000 GP. Here, we used to applaud purchase orders where people brought in $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. And when we started, one of the companies we were betting on, because we had some engineering skills and solutions, was Dialog. And Dialog went from 10 billion profit to 0 to 10 billion rupee loss. Our business plan went up in smoke. But we were innovative. We broke away from the business plan and looked at other places where we could grow. And so it's sheer combination of looking for new opportunities all the time and nothing like solid, hard work.
Right, apart from the questions what I have received, don't you think that innovation would kill so many other small jobs currently being offered?
Well, AI and automation will kill. That is why
Automation is also a part of being innovative.
well, innovation, yeah, but there's other types of innovation also. But your question should, I would respond it as technology, particularly artificial intelligence and robotics, is definitely going to take jobs away. Now, Elon Musk, he is worried about artificial intelligence for other reasons. He says it will take over. And he could be right. I mean, he's not a fool. The man knows something about technology. So he's creating a doomsday picture. But I was speaking at an apparel industry forum, at an event, and already robotics is coming in, and they were demonstrating a product that was going to take 16 people to do, with robotics going to take 6. So in apparel manufacturing in Sri Lanka, that's a big industry for us. And thousands of people are employed. Now they have to be aware that this is coming. So yes, there will be disruption. But innovation, broader innovation, may not necessarily cause disruption in a negative way. It can be positive innovation, like some of the social innovation we spoke about.
Right. There's another question from Jonathan Chanukar. How can we make a market opportunity when it comes to human life? The question is not that clear. I think he would like to know how to look for new opportunities with these new innovations, and especially creating these new opportunities with the human life.
I don't think I quite get the question. So if Jonathan is here, and if he can get some clarification, I'll be happy to. I'm not quite clear about human life, and does he say marketing, creating a market?
Market opportunity.
Market opportunity. I'm not too clear, and I don't want to attempt an answer unless I'm clear about it.
Right, okay, we'll go on to the next answer. Next question by Milan. Is it mandatory to have paper qualification to be an innovator?
Definitely not, because we just saw the example of Arunachalam, and I don't want to call myself an innovator, but at least I've done some innovation in my life across all the different areas I've been involved in trade union activity and so on. But even in technology, what I'm doing is, I do not have a qualification. I do not have a single technology qualification. Like I said, I've not even been to a business school. So clearly, you don't need a paper qualification. Einstein himself didn't have a paper qualification. So, and he came up with the greatest discovery in physics.
I think Peter just answered Pavani's question as well. She's asking whether, do you find yourself an innovator or a leader?
Innovator or a?
Leader.
Well, it's not mutually exclusive.
Yes.
Leaders also need to innovate. So it's an added quality of a leader if he is an innovative leader, rather than a leader who's presiding over an established order and is not there to disrupt it. There are successful people like that, who are leaders, who are business owners, but who are not necessarily innovators. We get a lot of companies like that in Sri Lanka. They're ready to go on and on doing the same thing. They won't disrupt themselves. So I think a combination of innovation and leadership is what I try to bring to my life in anything I do.
There's another question. What are the main requirements to build an innovative business rather than just having financial capital and creative people?
Ask that question again, please.
What are the main requirements to build an innovative business without just having financial capital and creative people?
Okay, so without having financial, we leave that.
Yes.
Creative people, I think, is an absolute prerequisite for innovation. You can't innovate without having creative people. So that's in my mind. Someone else could have a different answer. I think the essence of innovation is to be creative. But I think the question also makes me respond that organizations must have a culture that creates innovation. If you have a highly hierarchical company where you can't ask questions, you can't challenge the status quo, the people are 15 degrees away from the CEO, it's not flat. Managers are also following a hierarchical culture. You can't ask questions, you can't challenge the status quo. But what we try to do is to create a culture that allows people to raise questions. And the way we do it is we are very transparent. We completely share all the data. Our numbers, our profitability, our margins, our net profit, our cost, our people cost. What is the increment you're going to get? Everybody get. So it's completely transparent. So when information is completely open and transparent, that also allows people to be a little more open to challenging the status quo and hopefully paving the way for a little more creativity and innovation.
Right. Nisal is asking, haven't you thought about getting into areas such as blockchain technology, bitcoins, decentralization along with AI?
Well, not us, not immediately. But the area we are focusing on is on predictive analytics. Because we think there is scope for that. And like I always said, now we did a model. Now for banks, we are doing models that can predict how many people are most likely to acquire a credit card in the next 3 months. Today, in this day and age, banks still cold call their customers. They call and say, Ganwada, success rate is under 10%. So all these calls are wasted. Only 10% take the card. But with our model, we have gone up to accuracy of more than 70%. So with 70% accuracy, we can tell you these 100 people will go for a credit card in the next 3 months. The next thing we will do is to send them very specific offers. Today, banks, and I must say including even telecom companies, make offers to you that are absolutely meaningless. Now, what is the point in a bank telling my credit card to telling me Toyota spare parts if I'm using a Forester Subaru? So you see, that's where we think the potential is. But we are not into blockchain and artificial intelligence. There's a bit of that because it's machine learning and deep learning in our analytics, but that's where we are today.
Right. Next question we have. What is your greatest fear being an innovator?
What is my greatest?
Fear.
My greatest fear is that we will run out of ideas. We will run out of ideas. And I was a little afraid, actually, to be very honest, when this business planning session came up this time. I was shaken because after 10 years of working together and creating a culture of innovation, I was worried that have we hit the end of the road? So it took many efforts, about 8 efforts, to get the team together. And these are wonderful people. And these are guys who have also innovated their own businesses. But this time, I thought they were a little afraid to look at the bigger possibilities because they were constrained by other, issues that are of personal interest to them. So my fear is that we'll run out of ideas.
Right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Peter D Almeida.